what I'm passionate about is what I've written about is my journey to healing generational dysfunction
that I make in profit goes towards the materials to refinish pieces for people in need. And mainly because there's not enough, it's crazy because there's not enough hours to collect the pieces around here that people are throwing out. And furniture is just something it's such a luxury to have furniture. Anytime, especially something that's new or new to you.
All right, y'all, let's jump in. I'm here with Ginny and Amanda, and I'm so excited. I love these conversations where I have multiple people that I'm looking at and talking to. I don't get very many of those, so I'm excited to have both of them today joining from Colorado, which I told them I was very jealous that they're where it's the Earth is not melting. We're not at the core of the Earth where we are here, but thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us. This is awesome. I listened to a few of your episodes and I really love the work that you do.
So
thank you. Honored to be here.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to have y'all so much for having us.
Yeah. I would love to start out just having each of y'all kind of just talk a little bit about what you do. And so to give you preface here, and I said this in the intro, but these gals have a really great podcast as well and talk about a lot of really important topics. And so I'd love for y'all to just kind of give a little spiel about what you do and kind of where you are now in life.
Hey, well, I'm Amanda McKoy Flanagan. I'm an author and recently self-published my first inspirational memoir. It's called Trust Yourself. Thank you. It's called Trust Yourself to Be All In, Safe to Love and Let Go. I believe I was put on earth to heal myself. Number one, I think I came in with a slew of issues that needed to be healed from past lives and such. And I believe wholeheartedly that healing my personal pain ripples out to the earth. My good energy will then help heal everything that my energy touches. So my book is basically, that's what I'm passionate about, is what I've written about is my journey to healing generational dysfunction, traumas, different trauma, sexual traumas, grief, loss, traumatic loss, sudden unexpected losses, changes in life, upheavals, moves, etc. They don't have to be so traumatic to have affected me. So my mission is to try and help other people find the courage to feel safe in every single emotion that's going to come up as they are healing this stuff. I think that's what keeps people out of the healing, is the fear of what am I going to feel? And am I going to be able to handle that? Right. So my mission is to try and show people that you can go through anything. And I'm sober. You can also go through it without anesthetizing yourself. You can feel it all. You are that not just strong, but powerful. Like your energy is, you're okay. Like your energy is built for that. We're built for that. We're all here right now to do this kind of work. Ginny and I talk about that a lot on our show. So that's what I do. I'm also a speaker. I'm a motivational speaker. We're podcast co-host. I have a blog that I write. I'm also a mom. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I'm a wife. I love to meditate. I'm very spiritual. I love nature. And I just try every day to make myself a little bit better than I was yesterday. Not the best, but just a little bit better.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. Jenny, if you want to give a little spiel.
Yes, work in progress, right, Amanda? That's like that's how I feel. I am, my name is Ginny, and I am Amanda's co-host on the Soul Rising podcast, which has been such an amazing, cool adventure. And I was just telling someone this morning that I just always feel like I've come out of some kind of therapy session every time we do a show. I'm like, oh wow, that was like, it doesn't even matter. I'm like, I don't know how many people listen, but I know I feel better.
I feel better. That's right.
No, we definitely love that. We're gaining listeners and people are joining our community, and it's amazing. That's one thing that I do. I am a mother of 2 kids as well. I have a son and a daughter. I'm a wife. And I recently started my own company called the FLIPPIN PHOENIX Furniture Rehab. I left a corporate sales career of 18 years in March to kind of just take a running start and like jump off this cliff of like, oh, let's see where this goes. No, a little bit of a risk, but also something I just absolutely firmly believe in. And my company, what we do is we take pieces of furniture that are headed for a landfill that are still built incredibly well. And I give them new life. I, sand them down, use paint, use stain, repair, and basically get those back into the cycle of being purchased instead of put into a landfill. And it has been something that I had no idea that I had a passion for, and I had no idea that it would ignite all of the things in me that it has. When I first started doing furniture, it was just a very therapeutic thing for me. I had no idea that it would be so therapeutic. And as I started beginning down that journey and doing pieces of furniture and learning the history about certain pieces and manufacturers, like, oh, wow, I found this Drexel. It's from 1967, learning these things. And then watching people who get a piece to them that's new to them, and having, kind of being that bridge of something that was headed for a landfill, now has a new life. It's built better than so many things that are made right now that are generally a mix of like particle board and all these other, kind of just cheaper type material. So it's serving a few different purposes. It's keeping things from a landfill. It's getting things back into that purchasing cycle. And the other big part of my company is 10% of everything that I make in profit goes towards the materials to refinish pieces for people in need. And mainly because there's not enough, it's crazy because there's not enough hours to collect the pieces around here that people are throwing out. And furniture is just something it's such a luxury to have furniture anytime, especially something that's new or new to you. So in my business, that's been a huge, really rewarding thing too, is being able to do these pieces. I'm working with the Gateway Domestic Violence Shelter right now out of Denver, and helping provide brand new pieces for people who are starting new chapters of their life. So
that's awesome.
I'm newly embarking on that, and it's a little bananas, a little crazy, but I feel that we live one time, and we have today to come and try to leave as much of ourselves here as we can. So I know what I'm trying to do. I
love that. Well, and it's what a cool metaphor for life, like taking these pieces that are going to be thrown away, but you find out how to repurpose and make them new. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, especially since they're built so much better than a lot of what coming out. There's so many reasons, but yes, it's very much, I tell Amanda all the time, I think the reason I fell in love with it so much, I too am sober and have been for, it'll be a little over 6 years. It was 6 years in December. But just the idea too, it reminds me of myself and actually a lot of recovering alcoholics and addicts that I've gotten to know, that it's sometimes that exterior of us, it's not always in the best shape. However, that doesn't make who we are inside. And to be able to have a second shot at something and have purpose in this life. When you were counted out, when it was like, this person really can't contribute much more because they're not well right now, or whatever the situation might be. It very much reminds me of that. So I think I find a lot of healing for myself in that too. So,
I love that. That's so good. What were you going to say? Something, Amanda? Were you going to add to that?
Yeah. You used the word repair, Ginny. I instantly thought repairing the soul of the piece of furniture is metaphoric, right? Same thing, that we're all repairing our souls right now. It's
every day.
Furniture. That's so cool.
I love that. I love that. What a cool, and the fact that you're giving back too. I mean, and that's a really powerful stance in your business.
Well, it's interesting too, because I mean, and I think about that. It's just that and I just happen to be a conduit, like I said, like a bridge. I'm just somebody who's like a middleman of wait, these people need furniture, and these people need it out of their house. I can make it through. And my hope is that as we talk about the healing, obviously Amanda and myself, we're both super focused on trying to help heal our own trauma, but also in that helping other people. And I don't know, in my mind, I have a hope that if somebody has a dresser to put their clothing in, or a table to sit down and eat dinner with their kids, or vote or do homework, it's something that maybe that helps this new chapter for them really be anchored. That's the hope.
I love it. And it gets the furniture gets a new story, just like you get a new story, right? When you repair and I love that. That's so cool. I love that. So as both of y'all both of y'all being sober, I would love to kind of talk about, because I know y'all talk a lot about emotions and trauma and healing and all that, right? That's kind of y'all's mission with your podcast and stuff. And I would love to kind of go through just kind of your own kind of emotional journey. I mean, and there's a lot to it, and we could probably be here all day talking about it. But if it just to talk about, because I think like what Amanda was saying before, how like we're meant to feel all the things, and a lot of times we hesitate to like heal certain things or go through our own healing journeys because we're afraid to feel the things, but we're meant to feel the things. Like we're here to feel all the things. So I would love to get just kind of a piece of both of y'all's journey and what that looked like for you, and being able to, because there's a courage piece involved. Obviously, there's a courage piece to step out and like take that journey for yourself. But then it's also like you are forcing yourself to feel all the things, whether you want to or not, when you're going through that. So I'd love to hear y'all's take on that.
For me, every bit of growth that I've ever had, any experience, a spiritual awakening, spiritual experience, has almost been forced upon me. Wasn't really of my own doing, especially getting sober. It was, I wasn't arrested. I wasn't, my kids weren't being taken away from me. I didn't hit that kind of bottom. Mine was definitely much more of an emotional bottom. But there was a divine intervention. That's the only way that I can explain it, because I had tried to stop drinking many times and doing some drugs many times on my own. And for some reason, at that moment, laying in bed after drinking for a day and a half, like knowing I had this like epiphany, I was going to die, or I was going to kill somebody else driving around in a blackout, because I did that very often, not proud of it at all. I know people who have killed people doing that. So I kind of just had this feeling, this thing just dropped into me and just said, you're done. Like, that's it. And I knew about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I went. And from there, I mean, if I knew how much I was going to have to feel and face and go through, I'm not sure I would have done it. I kind of was naive. I didn't know. I really didn't know. I just knew that I didn't want to die. And I just was kind of pushed into the rooms. I just was kind of pushed there. So it was the people in there that gave me the hope, because I saw these people, the transformation in these people's lives. I heard their stories. I heard them they were telling me the group, what they had gone through, where they were. We call it experience, strength, and hope. Their experience out there, the strength of getting sober, and then the hope of what the future and what they're living right now. That's the hope piece. What it was like, what happened, what it was like now, all that kind of stuff. So it was not necessarily of my own doing, I should say. So I believe it was my higher power. I believe it's my higher self. I believe the two are the same. I believe we are one with everything inside, out there, around each other. I think we're all just one. And I think whatever that beautiful, loving force is, saved me. And I'm not, we call it God. I mean, a lot of people call it God. It's kind of just easier. It's in the steps, whatever. It's not a religious God at all. It's whatever kind of God. It's just a force of energy. So for me, that's what always has given me the courage and the discomfort, being uncomfortable. I have to get, not, I guess the last thing I went through. Yeah. I have to get really, when I have these major upheavals, I should say, not on the daily, but when I have these major upheavals, I have to get so incredibly uncomfortable to the point where there's really no other option. Like I have to face this, and knowing, back to your point of being able to feel it all, and that we need to feel it all. I know that I can do that because there are people that have done it, number one. And number two, want to show me how to do it.
Right.
They want to take my hand and walk me through it. So if I just open myself up to the community and the support that's available to me, and find the strength and the courage through my higher power and my higher self, then I'm going to come out the other side. It's better than where I was before, whatever pain I was in. They say when the pain gets great enough, then we're willing to do whatever we have to do. So that's sort of how I find my way through really, really difficult emotions and facing the pain.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. Ginny, I'd love to hear your piece.
Yeah.
Oh man. For me, unfortunately it had gone on, it's a progressive thing always. I don't think people always remember or realize, that it, alcoholism specifically, it's progressive, and I think addiction, I'm not super familiar with other types. I've had my time of partying and doing drugs. I lived in LA from the time I was like 19 to 25. So, and I played music. So there was a lot there. For me, it was definitely alcohol though. And I know for sure it was something that immediately took away briefly anyway, shut off that part of my brain that had lived in anxiety for so long since like childhood. That it was like, oh wow, what is this? Like, you know, I don't feel like I need to jump out of my skin. I'm not feeling out of place. I feel like I fit. And you know, of course that was all innocent enough and great and wonderful. And then it, you know, second child, working, postpartum hits pretty hard. I start realizing that I'm drinking more to deal with that stress instead of just, hey, you know, I was in sales. So that's very much a part of like, oh, let's go to happy hour.
Right.
I almost had this path of like, this is super normal, you know, for people to be going out and entertaining and all those things. But I started finding myself needing it as an escape. I did not realize I was going through postpartum at that time, you know, so long after. I had been put on a couple of psych meds that I think were probably not the best at the time. And again, I think as an alcoholic, I think that's in us, right? You're either alcoholic or you're not. Like people are like, oh, you become an alcoholic or you un-alcoholic. You're, you know, it's got that component of a physical allergy too, that's in our genetics. And it's almost like you're either allergic to peanuts or you're not.
Right.
And we don't always know when that's going to ignite. We don't always know. You could be somebody, for me, I drink pretty normally. I mean, I was, you know, always drank to feel a head change, but it wasn't something that I would consider an issue for a really long time. And it wasn't until I was past this point where I started realizing, you know, my husband would get a little stressed out. Like, are you really going to a happy hour right now? Are you really going to have another glass of wine? Are you really, you know, and it was like, why are you telling me, you know, don't tell me what to do, you know? And getting to a point of realizing I started developing this relationship with it where I was like, okay, cool. We're not going to have alcohol in the house. You're going to tell me what to do. All right. Yeah, no problem with that. I'm just going to go ahead and sneak it. You know, it started like that. So my relationship, it was this darker, little more darker kind of a thing that it was not great. It did not feel great to get to the point of all of a sudden it was almost like it was a relationship that I had with this alcohol and I was using to manage my stress because I wasn't sleeping. I'm a mom of two. I'm back to work full time. I'm doing all these things. I was very fortunate to not get a DUI, to not harm my children, to not harm somebody else's children or family members. I thank God every day for that because it happens a lot. But I was becoming unwell and dependent on it for sure. And I was drinking on my own, you know, like daily, never missing a day of work. Totally what I thought was functioning. I wasn't, but what I thought was.
Right.
And I pulled it off pretty well for a while. Obviously, my husband, who knows and loves me, knew that I had a problem, you know, long before. But I got to the point of needing to try to stop. And it had been about a year's time where everything really picked up like a lot, where it was like, I'm sneaking this and I'm at the point of not drinking at the bar anymore. Like I'm hiding it and sneaking it and all those really shameful things that end up, you know, like things I would have never pictured myself ever being in that kind of situation. And when I realized I really did need to stop, I attempted to quit a few times on my own and I was becoming sick when I did, physically sick, feeling like I had the flu, having the shakes, concerned that I, you know, never thinking I could get to that point. So I finally had realized that I needed some help because I wasn't able to do it by myself.
Right.
So for me, it was very much coming to that realization. And I did have a lot of demoralizing positions I put myself in. Even now it's like, you think of those times, it's still a little bit challenging to feel, but we have to, you know, it's like in order to be able to get past that and heal through it and get to a point where you realize, okay, well, I didn't need the alcohol. You know, I can live life, as Amanda said, without anesthetizing myself. It had gone to that point, you know, so I realized, yeah, I'm going to need some help with this. So it wasn't even like okay, I'm going to just stop today. Like I went through a medical detox. I did 30 days of rehab where I found AA through the Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12-step programs that are offered in those places. That was a maintenance and almost also not just we're going to help you not drink, but we're going to help you live life.
Right.
You know, to feel through these things. So that's how it was for me. I was super grateful that I didn't harm anyone. I didn't have a DUI. I didn't job. It wasn't anything like that, but I was slowly like really tearing apart the foundation of my family's life for sure, a little bit at a time. And thank God that didn't go on for too long. But it was more of that of knowing I really, had I gone down that road, I would have lost my husband and my family for sure.
Yeah.
And myself, my life potentially.
Yeah, I mean, and that's heavy. Yeah. I mean, that's heavy stuff to think about. And I feel like that is, and whether we're talking about addiction or, whatever we're talking about dealing with, I feel like that's another thing that comes up for people too, is there's that shame and guilt piece attached to those things, right? Like whether it's addiction or whatever. And I know for a lot of people, because even, some of the clients that I work with, and I don't work with people suffering from like current addiction, but there's still things in their past that they've been through. Sometimes it's assault, sometimes it's being in a, abusive relationship, whatever it is. And there's that shame and guilt attached to it. And then it just kind of follows you around. So I would love to get y'all's take on that too. And being able to, because like you said, like we want to feel the things, right? We want to feel it, but then at some point, like we have to feel it enough to kind of push through to the other side, or get to the other, I don't want to say push, but get to the other side of that. So it's not this constant shame, guilt kind of following us around and dictating, our future decisions and all that. So how was y'all's journey with that? Because I'm sure, and I'm assuming that both of y'all had to deal with those things as you're going through the process of healing and getting sober.
Well, definitely. For me, I think the way I felt empowered and encouraged to do that was by hearing other people's story. And then when I would let out my own shame, my own guilt, telling people, my close friends, or sharing in a meeting, or going through the steps with a sponsor and just bearing my soul and getting everything out there that I had done, I realized I was not the only one. I realized I was not alone. I realized that I am not unique. We have a phrase, it's called terminal uniqueness, meaning that when we walk around thinking that I'm the only one that's done this, nobody can understand how I feel, this is just me, I'm all alone, right? That's a disease of one of isolation. It wants us alone. So
it's the ego. Yes.
So exactly. So that's the whole point of the steps, really, and recovery, is to squash the ego, squash the pride, get as humble as we possibly can. And by sharing those embarrassing or shameful or regrettable things that I've done, we have two incomprehensible demoralization, we call it in our literature. By sharing that, I realized I'm not the only one that's done this, and it's not me.
Right.
It's not truly me. It's my disease. I'm not a bad person. I am a sick person. So when I can reframe it like that and take it, because feeling bad, feeling depressed, or feeling shameful, that's the flip side of the same coin of ego.
Right.
I can either be prideful, oh, look at me, I'm great, or I'm nothing. I'm garbage. It's garbage. It's the same thing. So for me, it was really being able to just understand that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And if you don't let this stuff out, it's going to kill me. So the fear of relapse, I have a very healthy fear of relapse. I've had it since the day I walked through the door. It keeps me willing to share this stuff, no matter how embarrassing it is. I mean, I just wrote a memoir. I talk about so much stuff in there that, it was hard, but it wasn't, because I have been practicing this for a very long time. So it was really just a matter of putting it on paper. And now I'm at the point where I'm not as concerned. I'm not going to lie and say I don't care at all what anybody thinks. I'm definitely not going to say that. But I'm not as concerned about being judged anymore, because I stopped judging myself.
Yeah.
That whole spiritual axiom. So when I'm not carrying this harsh self-judgment of all these things that I've done, I'm not looking at the world as if you're going to judge me. So it gives me the freedom to do that.
Right. I love that.
Was there a second part to that question?
No, that was it. No, it was your share was perfect. It was perfect. Okay. No, and I did want to sit on one thing before Ginny shares hers, because I love what you said about, and I feel like this is another piece, and I know y'all talk about this a lot in your podcast, but you were talking about initially was seeing that other people had the same experience. It's that piece, that human connection piece, which I feel like is so undervalued and underestimated, and kind of the part that it plays in our healing journey. Again, we don't even have to be talking about addiction. It could be anything that you're dealing with, struggling with, but that piece of human connection. And just like you said at the beginning, where you said, I believe we're all connected, we're all one. I mean, that's the power of it, is we are all one. We are part of the whole. We're all a part of the whole. And so, why would we think that we don't need each other? Like, there's a reason that we're all here on the planet, right? And so, like you're saying, like the fact that I could see other people are going through the same thing as me, and now you are here to share your gift and your struggles as a gift, right, with other people. And so I think just that piece of human connection, I think, is just so underestimated, the power of that.
It's huge. It's huge. They say the opposite of disease is connection. And it could be the opposite. You could look at disease in many different ways, right? It doesn't have to be addiction. It could be feeling this self-loathing, or feeling the depression or the anxiety or the shame, whatever. Disease to me feels just like the opposite of self-love, the opposite of self-worth, whatever, that other side is, in whatever way it manifests in your life, because there, like you said, a million different ways people suffer.
Right.
So yes, that connection, it's huge. That's like our whole mission. That's why it's Soul Rising, all in on love, loss, and connection, because ultimately we believe, it's no secret. Look at the world, the country, at least. I'm pretty sure it's going on in other countries too, but we're so divided. We're so divided. And the reason why I started talking about healing our energy can heal the world is because I believe that over any climate change, over any nuclear bomb, over anything, we can bring this place down much faster. And we are. Yep,
exactly.
Causing the chaos is because there's this pain and chaos inside. It's the right law of attraction. It's reverberating. It's where it's an outward manifestation of what's going on inside. So yeah, the connection piece is just so, the fear, right, makes us kind of like huddle down and stay to ourselves. No. I have to say, I call it Operation Connect. Me and my kids play it when we go out. They're so cute. They still do it. My little Shelby's just like, I got you, mommy. I got you. Like, we try to look at people in the eye, and novel idea, actually look at people and make eye contact, and they seem open. We just flash a smile. Even if they don't open.
I love that.
We just smile and maybe wave.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
So,
that's so sweet.
It's a little game. It's a little game we play, because we're all like just little balls of light, just moving around the planet, right? And we have a duty to just shine that when we can.
Yeah. I think that's a huge piece. And it's funny you say that. I was on a retreat earlier this summer, and we were in Tanzania, and it was incredible. And one of the gals in the retreat, we were talking about that, because we were like the people there. And this is off topic, but it was just reminded me, you was talking about the light and shining your light. Like, they were the most just beautiful souls I've ever, they're all just so gracious and kind and grateful, and just living for the joy of living. Like, they didn't care if they had money or didn't have money. Like, it was just, they were just living. And we were talking about that connection, and that one of the gals in the retreat was saying, she's like, this just makes me long for that human connection. When yet, like you're saying, we can look at people in the eye. She's like, I go to the coffee shop and I can be there for 20 minutes and not one single person has looked me in the eye. Like, talking about in the States, right? And we go here, we meet all these just beautiful souls and just literally balls of light, and we're like, they're living in a totally different vibration, right? Like, they're just living in a totally different place, but that human connection, and I think that's what made it such a magical place, is because they were all, everybody we met, and I can't speak for the entire country as a whole, but everywhere we went, it was like these people, just their aura was just shining, and they were connecting with us and asking questions. They wanted to get to know us, and they want, and I feel like it's missing so much in the Western world, because we're just so concerned about going, doing the thing, going, doing this and doing this and doing this and push and, all that. And so I think I just see, I love that. And I love that you're teaching your kids that, and being able to like know what it means to make real human connection. So I love that.
It's huge. It's huge. That sounds like a very beautiful experience you had. I wish
it was amazing. Yeah, it was incredible. If you ever get the chance to go, you should go.
Funny, because you hear that I hear that about India. I hear it about different places. You can go to parts of Mexico where it's a similar, similar. Amanda and I talk about this. I think so much of it is because we are living in our culture It just is where we are right now.
Right.
Our culture is consuming to feel better all the time.
Yeah.
Faster and more and faster and more. And we somehow believe, or we've been, we've for generations now, really do believe that this is what our value, that the amount of stuff we have or the things we have reflects the value of us. And it's not truth.
Right.
And like what a crazy, crazy thing. I think, Amanda, you and I were talking about it when we did the 2 episodes ago, right? Or was it last episode we were talking about just consumerism and that's all
just the last one.
We were talking about how we're the only species that live, that we pay to live. We're the smartest. We're supposedly at the top of the food chain. We're the only ones who are stressing out, paying to live a life that's not authentically what's inside.
Right. Yeah.
I think that so much of that, and talking about and kind of the shame and different things that are there. I think when we're at the point of being able to share our shame, that gives people permission to heal through theirs, but it doesn't just give them the permission to do that. It also fosters us giving permission to share our light too. It's like when we can say, hey, I've been in that spot of, incomprehensible demoralization, as Amanda. And when you hear someone tell your story, or, you're like, okay, so it wasn't just me. And also, I wasn't bum on the street person. I was under a bridge.
Right.
And neither were some of the pastors I've heard, or business owners I've heard, or amazing stay-at-home moms, or CEOs, or judges. Every walk of life, any one of us, can be in this spot. So shame is one of those shame and guilt, right? It's everything that does to us with the things we've gone through there. They are things that they continue to keep that separation. We don't want to share that. We don't want to show what we think are the uglier sides of ourselves. Because it's hard. We can't even look ourselves in the mirror. So it's if I have to hear myself mouth the words that this happened, and whether even if it's not addiction, like you guys said, whether it's trauma, whether it's things that have happened in our life or things we've done, it's those things are the things that end up weighing on us and can take our lives, all stem from those shame and fear places, and that just leads to more disconnection. So yeah, I think it's so important to be able to share the darker parts, because that also builds up those muscles for us to share our light too, and to get other people to share, that give them the permission to share their light. Because we're all here to bring something. We all have something specific, unique to us, that's here to contribute to the whole. And we all benefit by each of us coming here and leaving as much of ourselves as we can here while we're here. Everybody benefits. I benefit from you doing that and filling your gifts. I benefit when Amanda is filling her gifts, because something comes out of that ends up helping me too. So it's the long hope for all things, right? When we can share the shame parts, we can also share the light as well.
Yeah. And I think there's a piece of that too for people. There's a perspective for people there, because, and I'm sure, I think we've all felt this at some point, you kind of get into the victim mode and you're like, why did this have to happen to me? Why did I have to go through this? Right. But I think when, in the moment, that's just kind of naturally where a nervous system goes. It's I'm not safe. Why is this happening to me? But I think if kind of what you were just saying, Jenny, I think if we can look at it as we all benefit from each other's gifts, we all benefit from each other's experiences. That's the role it's here to play. So, and Amanda, you mentioned before, and, everybody listening may not, believe about past lives and all that kind of thing, but I'm with you on that. I think sometimes we come into this world and we have things that, that have happened that we come here on this planet with, right? And that we're meant to face and deal with. And some people believe in soul contracts, and we come here and our soul has decided we've got to go through these things. So, whatever it is you believe, there's a reason for it all happening. And there's a reason that it all plays into just the net, right? The network of the universe and this universal energy, and we're all here to play. So I think there's a perspective there. And not that it's easy, because again, in the moment, I think, again, we've all felt that why is this happening to me? But at some point, and maybe y'all can share at what point that was for y'all, at some point you realize like your struggles and your trauma and, you know, your mess or whatever, that this is here for good. Like they're good. There's a part of that we're meant to share it, help other people with, or help other people through.
Yeah, I feel that I had this like 12 years sober. I had this, my brother died. My brother overdosed in March of 2018. And shortly thereafter, my marriage fell apart. And I had a feeling, didn't really know, my husband kind of said, don't you think your grief might be like playing a part in this? Like I just decided I didn't love him. That I don't think I love you. I don't think I ever loved you. And he was like, what? And we went like to counseling, and I unraveled this whole story of this generational family dysfunction that told me that I needed to protect myself because pain was coming. You know, I think it was good intentioned, passed down through the lineage to protect me. But what it did was it did not allow me to feel that light, to feel that love. I was holding myself back in a prison of my own making, whether that was put on me or whatever, you know, however it came about, it just was. So I think at that point, I was compelled to dive even deeper and do so much more work because I knew that I had that light in there that I needed to shine. It was like some greater force, like I said, and I believe my brother from the other side helped me and all the other spirits out there. And I feel that I was just kind of pushed because I had this inner knowing that I have this light to shine. I have these gifts to give and to leave the world when I die. And that I wasn't satisfied with how I'd been living and what I'd been doing. You know, I was in sobriety. I was helping a lot of women get sober. You know, I was just really, that was how I was giving back at the time, which is wonderful and great. And I still do that. But I felt this higher calling, and I knew that it was going to, in some way, I had to go into that shame, into that pain and heal that, or else I wasn't going to be able to step into the higher calling, the light of love, whatever you want to call it, to then, because I can't give away something that I don't have. Right. Like, remember when I was writing, some of the publishers and stuff I was talking to, they were saying, you know, some people think that they're ready to write a book, but they really haven't gone through it. They're really not done with it. It's never done. Don't get me wrong. It's never done. I'll be here for the rest of my life. You know, once one layer is peeled, there's something else that's exposed and has to be dealt with. But you have to be along enough on your journey to be able to offer something to people, some sort of healing. Right. So, I had done a lot of healing, like I said, up to 12 years sober. And this just kind of like blew my lid off. This was my brother's death and the grief. It just all came up. My childhood sexual trauma, my other traumatic griefs and losses that I've had, my parents' divorce when I was 16, you know, like all of this pain that I really never dealt with, that I thought I did, but I really didn't. I was really just afraid to go in there, like I said when we started, for fear that maybe I would drink, or that I wouldn't get up off the floor, or that I'd end up in a mental institution, or whatever the fear is. So yeah, it was only through the healing and being kind of forced and compelled, and the writing itself was so healing. That was really a huge vehicle for me. Like, just as I was writing, you know, I've talked to my editor and he'd be like, all right, just sit with that for a minute and then for like a couple of days, then sit down and just see what comes out. Because all this unconscious stuff just starts coming and coming. Like, I was connecting dots as I was writing. It wasn't like I said, like there were dots connecting before to give me something a place to start, but it just blew up as I was writing. So that was like a path. It's such a cool experience. I really recommend everybody write a book at some point. So it was just really that journey that I knew that I had more to give to the world, and I had to just do it. I had to just jump in. I had to just jump in, trusting that I'm going to be okay. I'm going to come out the other side, and I'm going to be better for it. And my past references have always proven to me that that's always what happened. Every time I did look at any kind of pain and went through it, I always grew. I always was a better version of myself.
Right.
So why would this big thing be any different? No matter what happened, no matter if I ended up divorced or stay together.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I was going to grow.
Yep.
So I hope that answered your question.
Totally. Yes. No, thank you so much for sharing. It was beautiful. Thank you. Ginny, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I'm like, I'm focusing on everything Amanda has been saying. I'm like, bring me back around to your initial question.
It was, and honestly, I don't even remember what I asked. It was, oh, I know. It was how your pain and your journey is here to like help other people.
Oh
like
yeah.
playing a part of the whole.
I'm huge too in not just the thought process of like past life type situation, but also just ancestral trauma. I've really started learning a lot more about that, and it resonates with me so much, because in the same sense, that someone explains like, like the color of my eyes is kind of an interesting color. And I remember my grandmother telling me, your biological grandfather, right, or great grandfather, he's the only one who ever had that color of eyes, right? This is my great grandfather's. This is a few generations back, and they pop out at me, right?
That's crazy.
I feel like, yeah. So I feel like the way that DNA is too, I think that some of the trauma that we go through, because even our nervous system, like you're talking about, we have muscle memory of things.
Yep.
And I think that our DNA has imprints
Totally.
of that trauma. So
Totally.
I think that I believe all of us that are here right now during this time, all of us either signed up for we're like, okay, cool, I'm going to come do a bunch of this ancestral trauma healing too, for like lineage behind me and lineage in front of me. Like, let's sign up for this. It's going to be a little challenging, but we have the opportunity to come do it and to do it together. Yeah. So I genuinely feel like I'm here to break some cycles, that were in my family from both sides. I really feel that at this point. And not just for my children or their children, but for the ancestors behind me too, because I feel, I've heard those stories of, I've heard shaman talk about just recently too. I've not known that much about that, but that when you have the courage to take and face and be in that shadow self and be there and work through those things, like Amanda said, that you're not just healing it for you, that there is a lineage, there's a direct line, and that all things happening simultaneously at the same time, right? But there's the timeline is not
it's not like, linear. Yeah.
Not linear. So that you are actually healing all of that as well. So I feel like that's going to change and have a lot of impact on the entire energetic field of where we're living on the earth right now.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of us, I think, we have the ability, the opportunity to dealing and facing our pain, not just heal ours, but a nice big chunk of pain that the earth has been, we've all been, as someone else is born and a new generation comes, there's still that trauma in DNA.
Yeah, for sure.
Upgrade that.
Yeah.
That's just how it feels anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm with you. And I see it the same. And I think we underestimate the impact that our own healing has on, like, I mean, I agree with you too. I mean, if you look at time and space as, in terms of, quantum physics, then there is no linear time, right? So, I mean, it is healing all time and space, and, the healing energy has no bounds of time and space. I mean, I think the impact is far beyond our comprehension. I would love, as we're wrapping up here, I'd love to get any final. I do have one last question for each of you that I like to ask as I finish up the show. But if you have any other like lingering thoughts that you want to leave with the listeners on dealing with pain, using pain to kind of help move us forward, or grief, or anything, any last minute things that are pressing that are on your heart that you want to share with the listeners, or anything we've been talking about.
Well, just everything that shows up for you, honor that. Try not to push it down, whether you like how it feels or you don't, whether it's joy, whether it's pain, it's grief, it's love, excitement, fear, whatever emotions are coming up, they're coming up for a reason.
Right.
Whatever's coming to you intuitively, whatever you're feeling or you're thinking, honor that, pay attention, become aware, and give yourself that space to explore, why am I feeling this way? What's underneath this? Because you never know what it's going to be.
Right.
It's going to crack you wide open if you're looking for this kind of healing, right? So get curious, pay attention to your thoughts, honor your thoughts, respect your thoughts, acknowledge that everything that's going on around you is for a reason and is purposeful and is here to teach you, is going on to teach you something. Your feelings are the vehicle to your healing, your thoughts, and then lead to your actions. So if you don't like your actions and your behaviors, back it up and say, well, what was I feeling? What was I thinking? Right. And all this stuff, it's all possible for you. Just start small. Just start small with one small change, and then it just grows and grows and grows. So I wish you all the best.
I love that. Thank you. Jenny, do you have
That is
anything?
awesome. Yes, absolutely. And it's something that I have heard Amanda say, and I know she can recall exactly where she got it from too, but it's always stuck with me, Amanda, is don't waste the pain, right? Like,
I love
don't
that.
waste the pain. And because of the fact that it can be a spark for us, and we can let it be a spark. Sometimes we need a spark. Like you need something to start a fire at times in a positive way, not in as destructive as fire can be. It can also be renewing, it allows us to get it all gone, burn it down to the ground to start a new foundation and something from a healed perspective, right? So in thinking of, don't waste that pain, don't be afraid of it, let it be fuel, let it be fuel. And to remind everybody that the fact that you're here right now on this earth during this time says that you are already made up of something so strong and so amazing and so brilliant that you're meant to be here, and you're meant to transmute all the stuff we're all trying to transmute. You're part of that too.
Yep.
And you're made for it. You were made for it. So step into that and be that, because as each of us does that, we're helping the whole. But the fact that you're here listening to this episode, that you're listening to this show, you're exactly where you need to be, and trust your steps, trust your path. You're being led where you were born for right now, this time. So just trust in that.
I love that. Such beautiful words.
Can I just throw one more thing in?
Yes.
Yes, you are meant to, and you are capable. You are highly capable of any healing that any of us, me, Ginny, Hope, anybody that out there, I'm not any extra special, any more special than you are. I did the majority of this work because my life depended on it. Really, I'm not just some great, courageous human being that's done this stuff. You have that inside of you as well, and you are more than capable of handling whatever's going to surface.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Doctor, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Wayne Dyer, but he says, and I've read all of his books, I don't know which one of his books, he talks about that. Like, what makes you think you're so special that you're the only one that's struggling? Like, you're the one that's suffering. Like, you're not that special, right? Like, none of us are that special. Like, all of us are going through the same things, and
we're all human.
Exactly.
Basic connector. Yeah, we have many differences which need to be celebrated and honored and explored and all that. But at the base of it, we all have these same human emotions.
Yes, in one way or another. In one way or another, regardless of what the circumstances are. And oftentimes we think, well, if I just had been raised in a different neighborhood, or if I was born to parents, it doesn't matter. A lot of those things, people who are in those what looks to be perfect to us situation, are still suffering with the same human experience, soul wounds that we all are.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, such good words. Thank y'all. Y'all are so great. I could talk to y'all all day, I feel like, but for time's sake, we shall wrap up. I do.
That's on our show.
Yes, I would love to. Yes, and keep the conversation going. I love it. I love it. These are the best ones. The best ones are the ones that we could just keep talking about for hours. So I love it. Okay, so I do want to ask each of y'all my kind of wrap up question that I like to ask everybody. But before I do that, can y'all share with everyone where they can find out more about you, what you're doing in the world, your podcast, all the things?
So on my website, you can find all the podcast episodes to date. My website is my name, Amanda McKoy Flanagan, and I'm sure you'll see it.
I'll have the link. Yes.
Because it's spelled a little bit differently. So if AmandaMcKoyFlanagan.com, you could read my blog, you could see my book trailer, which I just got made and I love. It's like a little trick.
Awesome.
So cool.
So cool.
So cool.
Our podcast episodes are also on Apple, they're on Spotify, they're everywhere. Everywhere you listen. We'll be on YouTube soon. And on Instagram, I'm also at Amanda McKoy Flanagan, and we're at Soul Rising Podcast on Instagram. It's SOL. Soul, like the sun.
The sun. Yeah. All right. And of course, I'll have all that in the show notes, the links in the show notes for y'all to go check out and go download, follow their podcast, download the episodes. So whoever wants to go first, the last question that I like to ask everybody, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
I'll let you start, Ginny.
Awesome. I think the most important thing you can do to live with purpose is do everything you can to work towards being present. You know, I think that helps. I know I'm somebody who's very good at escaping being present. I'm like amazing at it.
We all are.
Yeah, I think that that's such a huge thing. And I think also just giving ourselves, because when we can do that and quiet our minds long enough, that, because sometimes we don't always know what it is that we're genuinely here to do, or what that passion is, or what that gift is, or what that love is. So I think being able to slow our very, very, very loud and chatty minds down, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, if it's for 2 minutes a day, even working towards quieting that down long enough to listen a little bit to what's coming from in here. And that, when I think it's huge to do that, but also if you see somebody who's living in their purpose and you see it, like share that with them, tell them that's amazing, you're doing this, you know, like encourage. I think as we encourage each other to be our most authentic selves here while being present, that allows us to do the same. They're going to feed each other. So just try to be present and help those around us and foster their journey. When you know they're being authentic, be like, yes, keep following this thing. Don't listen to the chatter. You know, support each other.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. It was beautiful. I love it. Amanda, what do you think?
Like what Ginny said, speaking to meditation, you know, getting quiet. Meditation has been huge for me. It's really where, right? It's really where I found myself. Like I felt that love from something bigger, and it like came inside, and then I started to love myself. Really this beautiful experience. So meditation doesn't need to be this big, crazy, long, deep thing. It could just be a couple of minutes. You could listen to something while you meditate. You don't have to be quiet. We have this idea. Yeah, we have this idea that we have to be like, and like all quiet. No, you don't need to. You can put on some music, or you can listen
to an air conditioner.
Listen to air conditioner. Focus on something. Yes, exactly. You can focus meditation. It's a thing. So find yourself there, and like a little bit what Ginny was saying, be as authentic as you possibly can, trusting yourself that is your purpose, that whatever you're feeling, whatever you're drawn to, whatever lights you up, try not to place a judgment on that, or I should not do this, or I should be doing that. Just go with whatever you're naturally drawn to and trust that is your gift, that is your purpose.
Yeah.
Trusting that higher self, that message, that intuitive message coming to you saying, this is where I want you to be. This is what I want you to do, no matter where it is. And try not to compare with what other people are doing, because even if it seems like small, it's not. It's not. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's important. We need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Y'all are so awesome. I loved this conversation. Such good conversation. Like, I am not one for small talk. Like, these are the conversations I like to have. So I love these conversations. So thank y'all so much for sharing your stories and being so open and vulnerable and sharing your wisdom. And I just love what y'all are here in the world to do. And I'm so grateful for sharing it with us.
Can I tell you where to find some of my stuff?
Yes, please. Yes. Share your links, Ginny. Yes.
I will. And I'll give them to you. I don't know if we already did, but just in case anybody's listening, you can find me at the FLIPPINPHOENIX.com. You can find me at the Flippin Phoenix on Instagram. I think everything is pretty much a Flippin Phoenix, even on TikTok. But
perfect. Yeah, and TikTok too. Perfect. I love it.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there, people.
So
it's all work in progress.
Are you just local with your business, or do you ship other places?
No, I have the ability to ship to other places as well.
Oh, this is cool.
Building a YouTube tutorial channel as well.
Okay.
So teaching people how to do, I learned and it's been incredible. And I just want to share that, but also just the journey of like stepping out of a corporate world to do thing. Yeah. So it'll be the whole journey. So that's
awesome.
Phoenix at YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. We'll go follow.
Don't forget Etsy too. You're on Etsy.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Etsy. Oh, perfect.
Yes, I have a storefront through Etsy, so I can ship
Etsy.
anywhere within the US. So
this is okay. Now this is exciting because in my head I'm like, well, I want to do that, but I don't live close to you. So this is cool. Etsy is where it's at.
That's exactly right. You can pay through there. I mean,
love it.
Accept all forms of payment, so we can get it.
Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah, that's all the things.
I'm gonna do it. I love it. I'm so excited to share it. In my head, I'm like, I have a friend who loves getting like refurbished stuff. So I'm gonna share it with her. I feel like she would like go to town. And that's so cool.
Very early on in development, but I'm like, let's go. This also helps me to like continue to like hold myself to the fire of keeping it up, because
get
that's
your
what
mission.
Get it out.
Yeah, I love it. So good. Yes. Thank you all so much for sharing. And just thanks for spending your time. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Hope. It's really awesome. Great conversation. I love your energy. You're adorable, and it's so much fun being here with you. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to spread our message, the healing, to as many people that we can reach.
Absolutely.